At 5 a.m., an HOA president thought she could bulldoze my 40-acre apple orchard while I slept, forge my signature on demolition permits, and break ground on her luxury resort. What she didn't know was that I'm the county permits director, and I've been signing off on every development in this town for 15 years. I'm standing here in what used to be 3 decades of my father's work. Diesel fumes mix with the sweet, sickly scent of crushed blossoms under my boots. That bulldozer behind me is still warm from destroying rows of Honeycrisp trees my family planted. She thought bribery, intimidation, and mob money from Phoenix would be enough to erase everything. But when you mess with a dying man's legacy and try to bulldoze an entire community, you just picked the wrong enemy. Let me back up. My name is Ethan Caldwell, and 3 generations of my family have grown apples on this land. Roots in the orchard. My grandfather bought these 40 acres back in 1994 when it was just scrub and a dream. My father turned it into a thriving orchard that supplied half the county's farmers markets. When he suffered a heart attack in 2018, I had a choice. Keep struggling to make the farm profitable or take the steady paycheck as county permits director. The irony wasn't lost on me, approving construction permits by day while trying to save farmland at night. But bills don't pay themselves, and someone had to keep the lights on. That's when Marissa Vaughn, 52, showed up. Fresh from Phoenix, designer handbag on her arm, voice sharp enough to cut glass. She moved into Maplewood Estates, the luxury development bordering my farm, and within a month had filed 47 HOA violations against her neighbors. She complained about the smell of blossoms in spring on a farm that had been here for 30 years. She started showing up to every county meeting with a leather portfolio as thick as a phone book, snapping photos of my 30-year-old tractor like it was a war crime. Then she came for me. Forgery and fear. One morning I received notice of a $15,000 remediation fee, supposedly for an irrigation code violation. The document had my signature, but I had never signed it. The metallic taste of fear sat heavy in my mouth as I spread papers across my kitchen table next to Dad's old farming journals. Somehow, she'd forged my name and made it official. But I wasn't alone. Claire, my deputy clerk, had 20 years of courthouse experience and a nose for corruption. Sam, Big Mike Rogers, a contractor who'd built barns with my dad, had already been pressured by Marissa to overcharge neighbors. And my cousin Anthony, a lawyer, started digging through her records. What he found chilled me. Marissa had pulled the same scheme in Phoenix, Tucson, and Flagstaff. Target landowners, bury them in fines and lawsuits, then swoop in with buyout offers once they broke under the pressure. Escalation. In March, strange men in suits showed up with survey equipment, mumbling about preliminary assessments before vanishing in rental cars with Phoenix plates. Then came calls from anonymous buyers, sell now or lose everything. The breaking point was what she did to the Kowalskis, my elderly neighbors. 47 years of raising chickens, gone overnight when her HOA fines pushed them into bankruptcy. This wasn't just about me anymore. It was about all of us. The lawsuit. On a Tuesday morning in April, a process server dropped a 43-page lawsuit at my door. According to Marissa, my farm had been illegally operating on residential zoned land since 1987. She even produced an original zoning map that proved it, or so she thought. But I'd spent years in zoning law. I knew every loophole. For 3 days straight, Claire and I lived in the courthouse basement, pulling dusty files, tracing signatures, building a timeline. And what we found was simple but damning. My farm was grandfathered in as agricultural in 1994. Every one of her documents was a fake. Wrong seals, signatures from dead surveyors, even section numbers that didn't exist when she claimed they did. Anthony nearly spit his beer when I showed him. She didn't just lie. She committed federal fraud. Counterattack. I filed a 47-page response with proof of every forgery. Then I went on offense, pulling her own property records. Turns out her house in Maplewood had 17 code violations. Unpermitted decks, illegal septic work, and structures built too close to county lines. I hit her with a countersuit for fraud and harassment, and I scheduled a code inspection on her home for Monday morning. Claire grinned when she signed the papers. Sometimes the best defense is a good offense. But Marissa wasn't done. Corruption unveiled. Soon, State inspectors showed up at my orchard, claiming my trees were diseased. Their badges bubbled like fake IDs. When I called the Real department, they had no record of these men. Days later, a real county inspector arrived, but my cameras caught him taking an envelope of cash from Marissa in his truck. Claire dug deeper and found 3 county commissioners had enjoyed educational conferences in Las Vegas, all expenses paid by a shell company tied to Marissa's lawyers. The final blow came from Sam. He laid blueprints on my table, plans for a 200-room resort spanning my farm and 3 neighbors' land, dated 6 months before Marissa even moved here. This wasn't harassment. This was a premeditated land grab. Federal firepower. The more we uncovered, the clearer it became. She wasn't just corrupt. She was tied to organized crime. That's when Agent Sarah Dawson from the FBI's Financial Crimes Unit got involved. Mr. Caldwell, this isn't local corruption. This is racketeering. You're documenting a RICO case. Marissa escalated. She forged tax documents to frame me for bribery, froze my accounts with fake evidence, and launched a media campaign painting me as corrupt. My daughter cried on the phone after reading lies online. My mother got threatening calls about her criminal son. But every attack left fingerprints, and we documented everything. The breaking point. When Marissa filed permits for her resort, I found the smoking gun, fraudulent property boundaries claiming 2 acres of federally protected wetland. That land was untouchable. She was trying to build a golf course on federal preserve, and in her own arrogance, she'd put it all in writing. We assembled our team. Anthony coordinated with federal prosecutors. Claire built the paper trail of doom. Sam wore a wire at his next meeting with her. And journalist Rachel Lynn prepared an expose that would drop the morning of her groundbreaking ceremony. The timing was perfect. FBI raids at dawn, her arrest at noon, and the council meeting live on local TV that night. The fall of Marissa Vaughn. On October 14th, under a bright autumn sky, Marissa stood at a podium with her golden shovel, bragging about progress and prosperity. That's when I stepped forward. With her forged documents. You filed 47 false statements, I said, displaying overlays of real property maps versus her fraudulent claims. She sputtered, waving a fake clearance report. We have federal approvals. That's when Agent Dawson walked in, badge flashing. Marissa Vaughn, you're under arrest for mail fraud, wire fraud, racketeering, and environmental crimes. The handcuffs clicked. The crowd erupted. The Kowalskis wept. Sam started a chant, "Save our farms." And just like that, her empire crumbled. Aftermath. Marissa pled guilty, serving 12 years in federal prison and repaying $3.2 million in restitution. Her investors, mob fronts from Phoenix, were dismantled in a nationwide sweep. The HOA dissolved overnight, freeing neighbors from her chokehold. The wetlands gained permanent federal protection, expanded into a preserve with grants for restoration. Our orchard grew again, 60 acres this time, including seized land from her shell companies. Rachel's expose won awards, and yes, we started dating. The Maplewood Apple Festival was born, celebrating not just apples but resilience. Children's laughter replaced bulldozers. And my father's dream lived on. Sometimes protecting home means fighting battles you never expected. But some places are worth protecting, no matter how many HOA Karens think money can buy what isn't. For sale.